much wherever you are. Welcome yet to another edition of Gambia Now with Ambassador Esa Bokasi. Our topics tonight are the Reparation Commission that has been launched on the 11th of April 2025. It has long been overdue. A lot of Gambians were expecting that this should have been launched much earlier than now. But however, it has been launched today, Friday, April 11th, 2025. The other topic of discussion, which has also been trending that we want to discuss, is the leaked memo. As you know, the chief of staff, Mod Sise, was on West Coast Radio, where he made a revelation about the authenticity of the leaked memo and the adverse consequences of the leaker. So without much ado, Ambassador Esa Bokasi, let's start with the Reparation Commission. This, according to my findings, came out of the established under the Victims Reparations Act of 2023. The mandate is to manage a reparation fund to compensate victims of human rights violations during the Jammeh era.
Yes, thank you very much, dear brother Ibrahim Balde, for another Gambia Now program. Well, this is long overdue, as you said, and as many people have already said. But there is an English proverb also that says, better too late than never. And I think the mantra at the TRRC was never again. And the acronym of the TRRC itself is Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, isn't it?
Yes.
So, well, to repair, I think within a given context, we understand what it is meant. But when we want to interpret things literally, nobody can repair life. Neither can you replace life. But at the same time also, there are words I heard when it is about we will go through it, reparations will be made, and then compensation, of course, will be part of that reparation, I believe. And then justice also will be part of that reparation. I think it is not easy to erase this. This is what most of us have been fighting for. And for me, this is in favor of the former government and in favor of the sitting government, because it is the height of the meaning of jurisprudence. It is the height of the meaning of the scales of justice. Definitely. Like I have been saying before, during the what we call the impasse, when everybody was online, you know, saying things and revealing things for us to end tyranny in one way or the other, you know, it is the people who suffer from tyranny that call it tyranny. Okay? It is the people who suffer under the hammer of might, of the might of tyranny, that also call it might or autocracy. But the particular individual or the team that is sitting above the state machinery usually don't see it like that. They don't believe that they are tyrants. They don't believe they are dictators. They don't believe they are autocrats. They believe that they are people with the gavel and also with the hammer at the same time. They are the ones who use the gavel to judge or use the hammer to crack. And that's where the tussle is between society and people occupying the seat of power. Exactly as I used to say to the former government, that it's not anything against anybody. It was a question of reminding them that however much one wants to rectify a society or to repress a society, you should have limits, because anything excessive becomes bad. Anything. Okay? So that's why, for me, I support this. And I would also applaud the people who have so far worked at the victim center. I cannot name names because they have been there and then they have been making noise. All these years, it has taken too long though. But at the same time, because the length of it, it's not about when the current the current government came to power. No, 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 no. The length of it is when you, in retrospect, when you begin from the time that repressive nature of a regime started. We all remember when our uncle, a good son of the land, was shot, lawyer Usman Silla. We all remember when Deda Haidara, my own mentor in one way or the other, because when I was young, we used to write stories, give it to him and Pap Sen, and I would salute them on that. So we all remember the trajectory has been, and then we all remember today. You know, this is a significant day. I don't know who chose the date today, but that's a very good day. I commend the government for that on all stakeholders because today is April 11th. Okay. But at the same time, you want to say something?
Yes, I just wanted to jump in very little yes. points here, just to strengthen your argument.
Yes, sir.
The link you have given here about April 10 and 11 is an important day in the history of the Gambia. This was the day, this April 10 and 11 were days when student protests turned violent and bloody. More than 10 students, were shot dead. The president, the former president, was out of the country, but things turned up, and until now, a lot of people feel that justice was really has not really been dispensed. And again, we also have a very unprecedented trial in the U.S. This is all interconnected. So this is why I wanted to jump in here, just to
thank you very much. I think this month of April is a coin for Gambian history, head and tail. The head, I think it was in April that Gambia became a republic. I think if I get the date right, maybe you can help me, but I think it's on the 27th of April, 1970. Okay, April brought us being a republic. Now the same April came back and then put a stain on the history of the country where our future leaders, and that's exactly, that term fits here a lot, because in the year 2000, some of those children are today part of what is helping run the country. Some of them have traveled, some of them are educated. One particular individual out of the lot that I would want to champion his case here again is Yusuf Mbai. You know, Yusuf Mbai, some of us, I don't even want to come back to that, but Yusuf, almost every day we communicate, or every week, all the time, because Yusuf is a very intelligent kid, and it's important for us to champion his story. There are other stories though, but Yusuf is still sitting on a wheelchair. You can imagine the pain he has gone through. I've seen the kid. I've gone to their house, and I'm not going to say what I did. People like Brother Saul Benga and others, so these stories come to mind right now. There are people who have been to the TRRC, yes. They were tortured, yes. But look at Yusuf as a kid. A kid that some people were saying that he was growing to be a soccer star. I heard he was very good at soccer. He was very good at basketball. And a very, very intelligent, he's a genius because I talked to him. He's very good at computers. But this individual here, people like that, I would appeal to the authorities. It's good to compensate people who have families and all this, but a kid like him, in fact, his father died. Okay, so you find out that those things, today when I heard about the establishment of the reparation, something like committee or commission, I was happy. I thought of Yusuf. I haven't even communicated with him yet. There was a time I got him a wheelchair, a lot of stuff. It was transported to Dakar. When he was in Dakar, he received it, and we still communicate. And he knows the little things that some of us do. So that is an individual directly with Yusuf. But when it comes to a system, that's another thing. I would appeal to the authorities. He's not the only one, though. I understand there are others. But his case is one example that if you think of April 11, you think of Yusuf Mbai, definitely, Ibrahima, a person whose heart is good. If you hear the story, if you're eating, you may stop. So I wanted to say that today, on this day, I want to take his case and champion it. Of course, there are other cases, but his case is connected to the rest. The moment people like that, because he's at home, Yusfa takes a taxi to go for therapy 2 times in the week. People will contribute to help him out to go and do it. There is this Abdul Karim Senghor and other kids there, and I forgot the name of his cousin at home. These are the people who have been helping this kid over the years. Can you imagine? Carry to the bathroom, take bath, bring him back on, put him on the wheelchair, this and that. And these kids are still around Yusfa jovially doing attire with him. In fact, do you know what I call it? Those are things to inject, some kind of recognition in his heart. I don't call him Yusfa, I call him Paco, and he calls me King. All that is because of the compassion one has for him. So I'm appealing, please, to anybody in this, let them consider all the cases, particularly the cases of the kids whose lives were destroyed at an early age and they grew up with it. Let them look at those people too, please. Yeah.
Okay. Ambassador C, let's look at the other dimension of this reparations fund or commission. Yeah. It would no doubt require a huge financial undertaking to compensate. Remember, the former government was in power for 22 years. And government usually are characterized by excesses of power. And imagine the number of victims who will also come out to say that one way or the other they'll be compensated. Let's look at the financial cost. Where is the funding going to come from? I just read before we started this interview that the slow start of this commission takeoff was as a result of funding, that the U.S. aid freeze also has some implications on the commission launch.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm laughing because, there is a proverb in Fuller that my grandmother used to say that ngeta yitba soy so it and we are conducive to wirti kam. It's like the rice field or the coos farm that is already on the way of being destroyed. The moment you come there, it will say, oh, this bird flew above me. That's why I cannot produce anything. No, I don't want to buy that. The US aid. The US aid, look, people are making noise about it. It's true, but the US aid, actually, the office, the former US ambassador in the Gambia, Sharon Cromer, was the one who closed the US aid office after the 94 coup. Before, she was not ambassador at that. She told me. You see, the US aid is part of this package, but the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission and now the Reparation Commission, I don't think I would encourage anybody to follow that path of thought that because of the US aid impacted it. The US aid, for us, for goodness sake, it's just this last January. Okay, this January, and it was not effective on the 20th of January. It went down until about a month ago or so. So I don't think I would not want to bring that. But the positive side of my commentary is that my advice to the government is these kind of things, you don't see it as Ibrahim Balde is not part of the government. This person doesn't like us. This person likes us. No, this is not a job creation market. This is not an employment agency. This is where people have to sacrifice Let me commit myself on camera and let anybody believe me or who doesn't believe me, fine. But let me commit myself that if the government wants to put in place a task force, even if it means I'm part of it and I'm not going to be paid a single butut, I, Isa Bokarsi, I'm ready to be part of that task force to bring in any little knowledge I have as far as resource mobilization to help the government. I will commit myself and let every Gambian hear me. I would not mind being there for the sake of the legacy, and the most important part of it is to worship Allah through that, so that I can my hand will reach people whose hearts will feel good, and then Allah will compensate me. The government should think of taking emotions out of it, taking anything like this person is criticizing us. No, let them not let them remove that. Now this is an opportunity, in fact, to galvanize Gambians again, because this is what brought the government to power. Because people were fighting against a system they saw as repressive, isn't it? This is an opportunity where the government can galvanize people again. When you say galvanize, some people will always think about votes supporting a party. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you can galvanize a country even after you leave the seat of power. You will still be remembered, and then you will still be an icon. Whenever the country shakes, people will go to a house and bring you. Allah knows. Some 2 months ago, when I said that I don't agree with the president thinking of going for a third term and all that, these are the things I was envisioning. Imagine today, if you have an institution like Barrow Center for Conflict Resolution, sub-regional, and then you take over this, people would have pumped money, and then that individual will be remembered, because you will be a president for life, and even a president after life. Okay? These kind of cases are the ways that to galvanize a country. At this moment of time, Allah always gives a country the chance. It's not about the leader. This is about the people of the Gambia. For me, I believe that what brought us together, we fought together, brought this government together. Allah is knocking on our doors again. Astaghfirullah, to personify him, but people would know what I mean. To tell us that, okay, what united you to come together? I made it possible for you to remove that system. I'm again giving you another chance. That's the way I'm seeing this. So for me, Mr. Balde, the government, as far as funding, this cannot be difficult. It all depends on the modus operandi. It depends on the structure in place. Let it not be politicized. Let it not be somebody sitting out there. You are a chief of staff, you know you are Minister of Presidential Affairs, or you are a Minister of Civil Service. I don't care about that. What we want to do now is independent approach from professionals to come together and see how they can bring all concerted efforts together to help the government and find the funds wherever it is, dump it somewhere, and then it will be independent of anything through central government, but will still be audited. Then the funds will be available to these people. People can do it. I personally, let me reiterate it. If I see the need and the possibility, and the government wants to put in place a structure where they need concerted efforts, even if they don't pay me, wallahi, I will be ready to give anything I can in terms of leads, in terms of wherever, if they come to America somewhere and they travel to some people, they believe I can drive my car, meet them there, participate in the meeting for us to get the funds. I don't want any butut out of it. Okay. Wallahi, I mean it.
Let me jump in here. Mm-hmm. This is a suggestion, in my humble opinion.
That's right.
Jammeh left a lot of properties, landed properties. Some of them, it may be even, physical accounts in the country's banks, or maybe offshore accounts and the like. So what remains of those properties when it comes to compensation? Maybe instead of looking for funding from outside, look, this was someone who ruled the country for 22 years. When he came to power, I mean, he came to power through the barrel of the gun. He was not known to be someone from a wealthy family, but when he was leaving power, he was a millionaire, one of the richest in the Gambia, if not the richest. So those properties he left with some in exile, but there are some he couldn't carry. Maybe that's a suggestion that those properties could be sold and then compensated to victims whose list will be, I mean, expansive as we speak, because when people are told that they are going to be compensated financially, you will see a lot of people will come out and say one way or the other they were victims.
Okay. Earlier on I said for it not to be politicized within courts. Of course, politics cannot come out of it because the system being indexed today for having repressed, tortured, killed some people to a point where they deserve compensation was within the circle of politics. Everything was political as far as what they were doing. You cannot separate the functionality of the institution called a state from politics. But when I say not to politicize it, for example, now, your suggestion is a very good one. But the Jammeh Commission was there. Properties were, I mean, I don't know, frozen or seized or whatever I would call it. I don't have the facts before me, neither do I have the data, but you hear people saying, where are the cows? Where are the cars? Where are the, houses? Some people are saying a lot of things. I cannot authoritatively say any person or anybody in the government has taken this and owns this. I cannot. I don't know how they distribute it. But all I know is that these cars were being sold or auctioned, I think. And I know individuals, one person who bought one of those cars, okay, with the intention that what he believed at that time, he thought if he buys the car, that money will be part of what they will use for what you are saying right now. I know him. I don't want to mention his name because I don't know whether he wants his name to be mentioned, but I don't think he would care. He's a very famous person who is always online and a very critical thinker. Now the rest, like the Wolof would say, you know, so it's not me though, but the person is in the Gambia right now, okay? To be closer to the point, he in fact once worked with OIC. I think now I have solved the problem, okay? So I know people like that bought cars, okay? And the belief they had was that's what it's going to be used for. So I cannot stand here today definitely to say, oh yes, because what is said online all the time, professionals, if you want to be a respected analyst, you don't always go by what everybody says online. You have to go by facts. You have to get the data. You have to get the empirical data. You have to trace. You have to investigate. Of course, like I always tell some people in government, I am one person who like being challenged though. Not saying things doesn't mean that I am threatened by anybody's reactions. I know how to investigate. I have facts with me, which if I am provoked, I can release though, and there'll be facts, not jokes. But I don't want that to come into this because you know what? The moment the polemics of you took this, you took his cows, again, you know who will suffer? The victims. That's why I'm offering solutions to it. You are right. I mean, if that is the case, though, now it's a state that is put in place here, a state. It's not Jammeh alone, it's the state. Of course, he was the head of state, right? Now, the continuity of a state is not always to continue what Jammeh was doing, but the continuity is to continue repairing what was wrong also. Okay? So I don't know what happened to his properties. All I see is people are talking, writing, and saying a lot of things. I'll give you an example of one person who bought those cars. So I don't know who bought that one. I have evidence, and the person told me, and I saw him driving the car. But the others' properties, what happened to them? One has to find out based on data. Maybe I don't know, because there was a time during the the Jammeh Commission. I think we all remember when Mr. Kurang left. Yes. I don't know why he left, but that could be one point of contact also to find out certain things. Okay? So not to accuse anybody, but at least to go to the data and see what can be used. But what I'm afraid of, if we want to bring that into the equation, is going to be another circus of blame games. Is going to be another arena of gladiators who will be using all sort of hyperboles, intellectual gymnastics here and there. The victims will continue suffering again. That's the only thing I'm worried about. So even if that is going to be part of it, it's a very good suggestion you are making there. Even this, but still let the government think of tapping into the minds, to mine minds. Let them mine minds to see what can Ibrahim Abalde do. What can Isa Bokarsi do? What can XYZ do for us to come together as a country, unite, and then find ways and means to advise that government, or to even not to advise, but for them also to encourage to work with people in tandem and remove this mindset of, oh, that diasporans this, or this. This is not about liking or disliking or supporting NPP. This is not about that. This is about a state. This is about a nation. This is about people we live with, our sons and daughters, our brothers and sisters. Some are dead. That's what we are talking about. We are talking about how to at least console the bleeding hurt of the late Ibrahim Amane's father. We are talking about Kanyiba Kanyi. Okay? We are talking about, I'm talking about the dead ones. We are talking about Ibu Lo. Okay, we are talking about Alaji Mahmoud Sise. We are talking about, this guy. I think it's Ibu Jo. Okay, all those people.
Solo Sunday.
Solo Sunday, absolutely. In fact, in 2017, I went to his family. I didn't give them any extraordinary, but the wife is very nice. I went to say hello. The family of this Haruna Jammeh. You know, Ibrahima Aisha, their mother is very hardworking. I saw those people. I went to visit Ibulo's mother, who, by the way, is a distant aunt.
Let me just jump in for
yes.
Here is an excerpt of the statement delivered by President Barrow at State House when he witnessed the swearing ceremony of these commissioners commission. He said, quote, if there are no serious attempts to heal the wounds of the past for the sake of national healing in the Gambia, we may never find closure and move forward in unity to attain our development goals.
Well, Allah knows I haven't read his speech today about this. I did not hear this quote before we spoke. Allah knows. I'm not going to take Allah as a witness just for no reason. Now, doesn't that match what I was just saying about galvanizing people? Allah has given him the chance again. Not for partisan reasons, though, but for national reasons. It doesn't matter. Even if you were to repair and you'd lose the election, for me, Esa, I will still respect the person that you did what you were supposed to do. And that's it. Let it not be related to anything like winning the minds of people, because whatever you compensate these people for, some of them you can never win their minds again. Some of them will believe that it's too late. But it being late or overdue, I am not going to be unfair also and put it on the head of the president, because like you said, this involves funds. There could be other processes put in place, other structures, which will be recurring contributions coming from people. There can be a lot of ways. Look at the model of Action 8, Action 8's model. For example, all these people who suffered, and then they have families. You are not going to give them bulk amounts, but you can create a string of recurring contributions towards their families. There are people, if you sell this story, there are rich people out there who will not mind sponsoring one child, one sponsor, one family, one sponsor. All these things are possibilities to put in place. And those people, when they commit themselves, look, I'll give you the story of our brother. You will interview him these days. There was a time somebody lost a kidney due to torture. Do you know what happened? A white man, and when I say white, it's not racial, but at least to show the separation between, the region, the tribe, the race, and you wouldn't say he's an African like me. He was online and saw somebody needed a kidney. He said he's going to give him that kidney, and he doesn't want the person receiving the kidney to even know who he is. Until today, he saved that life, and that person was tortured. So you can see how many people are out there in this world. If you put in the right structure, these people may end up, look at, I'll give you another example today. When there was war in SWAPO, Southwest Africa People Organization, let me just finish here, and Namibian students came to the Gambia. Well, it's almost the same bad situation, repressive apartheid regime. Those students, their stories were sold to the United Nations, okay? The United Nations was sponsoring them to study abroad. They were victims of repression. In fact, I will pray for one person here who is the brother of Imam Hamma Jaite. His name is Ibrahim Jaite. He was a lecturer at Armitage and Gambia College. He played a significant role in making sure that the stories of those students were sold, and then he stood up for them so that they will be sponsored. May Allah have mercy on Ibrahim Jaite. He's a Gambian. He did that for people from South Africa. So this story can be sold out where you will have recurring contributions from people who will be ready to sponsor these families. You can put in place a structure like that. Yeah.
Okay. What else would you like to throw in regarding this reparation commission before we move to our next agenda item?
Okay, sir. You always call me general. Today I'm going to be the soldier. I'll just address you as sir, lieutenant, sir, general, sir, captain, sir. You take all, field marshal, sir. Okay. Ibrahim, what do I have to say as far as this is that we have been taught a lesson as a country. We should all understand by now that force, repression, okay, pain cannot suppress a nation to remain obedient to any ruler. Sooner than later, the end result is not going to be for that person presiding over the machine that is repressing people. Pain, tears, force, and blood. No, I don't want to use that to maintain myself on the seat of power. Deception, squandering, embezzlement, I don't want to use that. So let us learn from this to understand that the only thing that can set us free is to be honest to ourselves, to be loyal to our nation, and then come back and be honest to our nation again. That's why I have my formula. I call it the HLH: honesty, loyalty, honesty. If you are honest to yourself, if you are loyal to the president, it means you are honest to yourself, to the president, and to the nation. That's why you are loyal to him. But if you are not honest to yourself, you are not loyal to the president, you are loyal to interest. We should not do that. Thank you.
All right. The leaked government memo that has been a trending topic over social media has given a lot of Gambians a lot of issues to think about or reflect on. Number one, the workings of government. Okay, the president's mom coming on the spotlight. A lot of people perceive it as a private citizen because usually the president's mother is usually out of the equation when it comes to politics, when it comes to criticism. But the president's mom, according to our sources, is a 90-year-old mom. And the chief of staff granted an exclusive interview to West Coast Radio's Coffee Time, Peter Gomez, where he made startling revelations about the authenticity of the memo and some issues that leave or that would definitely opened a can of worms or a Pandora's box. Namely, the president's medical expenses will be taken care by the Senegalese government, or is it the Senegalese government, or some institution in Senegal, and that the per diem is meant for the security detail. In a nutshell, what do you make of this? Having worked for government as a public or a civil servant, what do you understand from this leaked memo and the explanation given by the chief of staff?
Mr. Balde, this is not a complex topic, as some people are trying to make it to be. It is not. Look, there is a proverb that says, if the choice is only one, if you have to only make one choice, and there is only black and white, then gray has no place there. You are asked to choose either black and white. You cannot mix the two and tell us, I've chosen gray. No. Then you have not made a choice yet. Now, why did I depart from like that? Why is my departure point from that perspective? There's a structure in place, it's called a state. That is the machine that is running the engine of nationhood. Because democratically, as they always say, they won the popular vote. They are the ones voted into power, and then they are the ones mandated by law, by everything, to run the affairs of the state. But that's the political context. But when it comes to civil service, that's another ball game, okay? Because that is what they call general orders. That is what they call financial instruction. That is what they call codes of conduct. That is what they call the constitution of the country. And there are rules also that govern the operation of the state administratively. This is the very reason why an institution like PURA and SOE came to existence. What does PURA mean? It means Public Regulatory Authority. Isn't it? Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. That's what PURA means, right? What is regulatory in those institutions? Now, what does SOE mean? It means state-owned enterprises. Just to give now, codes of conduct for who? Not for the politicians, right? These codes of conduct that you hear about, they are the ones that accompany expenditures. That's why environments happen. That's why votes are there. That's why they tell you that this vote is in the red or it is in the blue. Usually the auditors, they don't like it because you are spending way beyond what you are advised to do. These things exist in the government structure. That's why, for me, I don't want to blame too much the politicians who come to power without being familiar. I blame the people that are working within the administrative structure. I have been saying this over the years, and some people don't want to hear that, but that's the truth. The people who make governments crumble are the so-called technocrats. They are the ones that destroyed the PPP regime to a point where public confidence eroded. They are the very people also that destroyed the image of the former government to a point where public confidence eroded. In fact, it is the outcome of their action during Jawara's time that is what made people angry about them, to a point where the former US Ambassador Andrew Winters said, the corruption level under the PPP regime. This is not the first time that people are talking about corruption in the Gambia. Maybe this one is more rampant, I would say, if I can say it like that. But it is not like this is the only government that has been accused of corruption. No, no, no. Who are the corrupt officials? Is it the who? If you have never been a permanent secretary, Mr. Baldo, you've never been a director, you are appointed politically, you are there maybe, or you are elected into office and you are a president, but you have never run government. You are now on the learning process. Now, along the way, how can you separate those so-called technocrats surrounding the person who is sitting on the seat of power, misleading him within those structures? In fact, there is what they call structural deficiency. And these deficiencies, if they're not plastered or revamped, that is why a regime keeps sinking and sinking and sinking. And the immediate circle around the leader will always make you believe that, oh, people like Esa Bokar, C. Ibrahim Balde and others who criticize, they are undermining the credibility of state-owned enterprises. That is the worst deception you can ever have. So you want to have an admin structure, a civil service that wants to be criticism free when actually everything they are doing is not put on the scales of accountability. How? Because for me, this case, I told some people that I'm not going to waste my time on trying to find who to index for this anomaly. The people to index for this anomaly are those within the structure of the civil service. Okay, had they put in place procedures or whatever that can detect what is wrong and stop it before you proceed, I don't think we would have reached this stage. I don't think so. So for me, this is not a political error. It is an administrative error. It's an administrative failure. That's what I would call it. The conduit between the office that controls these people and what happened is where the error is. If you come to a president and tell the president that he cannot remember, I'm not trying to exonerate him, but he cannot remember all the rules. He cannot remember all the rules, okay? Now, the president, you come and tell him that, okay, Mr. President, this is good. Some people want to satisfy the whims and caprices of leadership to a point where they don't even care as far as they can maintain their jobs. And what is destroying the Gambia is the desire to satisfy the whims and caprices of leadership because you are after job security. That's the problem. Okay. I don't blame the president, neither do I blame his mother. I blame the people who are running the show within the machine of the civil service. That's it.
Ambassador, let me come in here for a few seconds.
Yeah.
What do you think was the motive of the leaker, knowing full well that you are privy to this intel or this confidential letter, and then you decided to tell the whole world about what really transpired or what usually transpired in the
Ibrahim, sorry, go ahead. Are you done? Right now the sound has gone. I'm not hearing you.
I said,
are you done?
Yes. I said, what was in your reasoning the motive of the leaker? The guy who decided to take a photo or maybe copy the content of the letter verbatim and then send it to the world for us to have access to this information. What do you think was the probable cause or the reason behind the leaker telling the world about the workings of the government or what transpired behind closed doors?
Well, people are saying confidentiality and whatever, but if you go by the language of administration, on that letter I saw, there is nothing like confidential or there is nothing like top secret. What I saw on top is extremely urgent. Okay? What I saw is extremely urgent. There is nothing like confidential, top secret, a stamp on that letter. So let's assume people were rushing and somebody put it down. You know, in every office, the files you have incoming and outgoing files, isn't it? Mm-hmm. For example, I'm just giving a scenario. I come to that office, I don't belong to government, but I have worked with government before. Example, I know what letters stand for and what everything is all about. And I see a letter like that. The devices we have nowadays are very fast. Okay, I'm not saying I do that, but there are people with glasses, these glasses, they record. Okay? There are people with glasses, the glass. I'm talking about spectacles, they record. I can look at something and just act like I'm adjusting my glasses when actually I've already pressed the button. As soon as I record everything, what I'll do is just to remove this, put it in my computer and download it, and that's it. So I don't think the best route to follow is to go on the rampage like they always do for the optics, for eye service, for protecting your job, trying to say that, oh, we are investigating. In fact, usually you hear people on these radios, they reveal things before they start. Had I been the chief of staff, my dear brother, he's a good brother, okay, I wouldn't have said we are investigating. I wouldn't have even answered the question, who is investigating, your office? Or I wouldn't say, I think I heard him mention something like SIS. I'm not sure, but I heard him mention some institution. I wouldn't even say that. Okay? My answer would have been, if I was asked that question, if I were to be in his position, what I would have said was, a letter was dispatched. It went through the normal process as all other letters. This time around, we are unlucky. Something has leaked. What we are going to do is to repair something that leaks along that pipeline so that there'll be no future occurrence. And if I am asked politically, I would have just said, I'm a technocrat, I'm a civil servant. My role is to make sure that the civil service, the machine of the civil service, the deficiencies are fixed. But definitely, when it comes to what a political party says or not, it's not for me to answer because that's not part of my that's not part of my TOR. That's what have been my answer, and I'm done with it.
So, in a nutshell, do you think this is the end or the beginning of the end of whistleblowing in Barrow's government?
Not only Barrow's government, but in any government, we should expect whistleblowers. Look, United States has a sophisticated machine in place. We all remember the Watergate scandal. We all remember what made Nixon resign. We all remember the Contra rebels, the scandal. Okay? We all remember other things that made the Bay of Pigs leak, and then the U.S. forces stopped because the leakage happened. And that is more serious of a leakage than anything else, because foreign forces coming to intervene in a country and then it's leaked, that means lives are going to be lost. I know what leakages are. Some people have signed documents in other countries. I'm not part of them, but there are people who have signed until for the rest of their life, they have no right to talk about what operations they did. That's part of government. But now, is this about defense? No. Is this about anything else that's security related? It touches the nerve that can turn a country upside down? No. Nobody should try to make it look like, oh, people should have sympathy, empathy, they should have respect. No, there is nothing like that. The issue is you are the one who messed up the head of state. Look, I want to quote, for those people who think that we wouldn't, Mr. Balde, are you there?
Yes.
For those people who think that we are into it for political reasons, look, Islam dictates people to take care of their mothers and fathers, and I will never, ever blame President Adama Barrow for standing up to make sure that his mother is treated and becomes well. I would have done the same thing. But now the people around him, the approach, my appeal to him is, this is a lesson. How many years has he been taking care of his mother before he became a president? Did anybody talk about that?
No.
No. Now, this is a lesson, because this is where I always keep telling him or any other leader that most of the people around, they are the very ones who will write speeches for themselves, bring justifications to you. Sometimes withdraw yourself from however much close the person is. Withdraw yourself for 72 hours. Okay? That's why that's where this saying is from. Bur amun mboka. When they say it, they think about the power. No, no, no. It's about the wisdom, not the power. So that you will withdraw. Because if not, so many Gambia, they are like that. That's what they did to Yaya Jammeh. I knew Yaya in the military barracks. Yaya was not the person I saw. No, no, no. And when Yaya was at the Denton Bridge, I have no doubt in my mind that Yaya Jammeh, the brother we saw at the Fajara barracks, would not come to Denton Bridge and pray to Allah that I want to take over the government, let me feel. He will never say that. But most of the people that Yaya has a problem with today, and I told him that yesterday, it's not his own making. Some people are so hateful and are so greedy, they will use a president, they'll use a minister, they'll use anybody to fight the people they have it. But they are very good at choreographing stories and present it. If you don't take care, you may offend others that have no ill feeling against you. This is how they make presidents feel. I don't know who advised the president about this, but my advice to him is, in the future, let him continue doing his own thing, because this is dictated by Allah. He cannot do otherwise, not because of people are criticizing you, then you will stand aside and no. I will never blame anybody for taking care of your mother. But now, taking care of your mother, you have been doing it for years without knowing State House. I know that. Gambians are like that. It's not only him, President Barrow. He has been taking care of his mother for years without being a president. So now the thing is, some people will come and choreograph a story for you and put it in place as it is the best story. But if you look at it, this is a learning curve for him, for goodness sake. It is a learning curve. Let me quote one ayah here for people to understand that those who are trying to come and tell us, oh, it's an elder, is this? No. That is not even the way to support the president. That's too cosmetic. Okay? I will not sit here and blame him for taking care of his mother. I cannot do that, because that means I'm un-Islamic. But now, the process of taking care of a mother you have been taking care of for years without even coming to State House, the people that designed the approach, the fact is the fact. Whether they take it to him in that way, whether he accepts my argument or not, but the fact is he was misled on a very genuine cause. Because he cannot divert the cause. He cannot say, okay, because people are criticizing me, I'm not going to take care of my mother. No, warning to that. Now, I am a Taliban, but we are going to go by this for them to understand that some of us, it's not politics, that's what we are saying. We are just saying the truth. Here is what we have been taught. وَوَدَيْنَا إِنسَانٍ بِوَالِدَيْهِ أُمَّهُ وَحْنٍ وَفِصَالَهُ فِي أَمَامَيْنِ أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ Masir. Wherever I make mistake on the pronunciation, I'm asking for the forgiveness of Allah, and for the ulamas who are listening to me. I'm not trying to be a special scholar here that I know the ayahs. We're just putting barakah in our speech. What does the ayah say according to the interpretation? And we have enjoined upon man care for his parents. His mother carried him, increasing her in weakness upon weakness, and weaning in 2 years. be grateful to me and to your parents. To me is the final destination. That's Allahu Akbar speaking through his Prophet Muhammad or any other. Look, we know what it means. I will never discourage anybody, and I cannot even do that. Every Gambian does that. We take care of our mothers. That's our culture. That's our deen. I will not blame the president for taking care of your mother, for his mother. No, because believe me, Ibrahim, politics aside, just a clean heart. If I were to be rich and I travel to a country, I meet his mother there, and they tell me, for example, this thing, part of the bill is missing. I will not do it because he's a president. I'll do it because I want Allah to reward me. That's us, Gambians. But the people who choreograph these things, design the approaches, put it before you, they misled him. Whether he accepts my argument or not, that's what happened. It is misleading. The letter was not written in a very correct way. The letter should have been separated. Everything that is being explained on the radio there should have been explained on the letter. Why didn't the letter, in fact, be in 2 to 3 parts? You see, you cannot appoint people, and they will be there. They will be the ones to rectify their own errors. They will be the ones who will tell you, oh, these people are just criticizing you here and there. No, no, no. Sometimes we draw from them for 3 days and look at why are these critics saying these things. Look, the honest truth is the chief of staff, the Minister of Presidential Affairs, anybody in that there, my brother, Moduke Sise, I'm not blaming him personally, but let him accept the fact that there are deficiencies in the structure and they need to plaster the deficiencies and restructure and make sure that people respect rules and regulations. This is not for a political party to be blamed. It's not for the president to be blamed. It is the civil service that is wrong in what they do. That's it.
Finally, like I always tell you, where do you go from here regarding these leakages?
I think, you know, no government in this world can control leakages. Like I said, the remedy for leakages, Mr. Balde, is transparency and accountability. Because what do we call leak? Is something that was contained with the intention for it not to be known, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what we call leakage, right?
Yes.
You have also secrecy. You have, what would they call? Top secrets. You have all these things in place. But like I said the other day, they are meaningless when a government changes. What we were hearing during the Jammeh Commission from the very sophisticated, intelligent questions coming from lawyer Ami Bensouda, were those things not unearthing what people consider to be secrets? Did any one of us know that people were being sent to the central bank to get money and come out? Those were secrets. That's what that government was calling secrets.
Yes.
It has no meaning. So if you are transparent, put in place a website, anybody who wants to access, even the procedure of going to transport somebody abroad, like our mother, because I will call our mother. Everybody heard me when I used to speak about Yahya Jammeh's mother. Culturally, this is our mother. Sometimes I feel very sorry, to be honest with you, whether it is President Barrow's mother, Yahya Jammeh's mother at that time, Macky Sall's mother, any president, because most of the time they are innocent of even what is happening around them. Yes, they don't even know what administration, all these things about. So I don't want to spend time blaming somebody who did not deliberately find herself in this. One thing nobody can deny her, she is the mother of President Adama Barrow. What can you do about that? Nothing. And him too, it is obligatory for him to take care of his mother. And I think he has been taking care of his mother before today. And that's exactly what he intended to do. But the people who designed the approach is who misled him. Let him listen to reason here. It's not his, nobody can blame him for taking care of his mother. I brought my mother to Washington, D.C. to have a pacemaker implanted in her heart when she was alive. Yeah. Did anybody talk about that? Because the approach I took, I don't think, had I brought my mother, even though I'm not a president, had I used government resources, went and written to Ministry of Foreign Affairs and tell them that I want the government to buy the air ticket of my mother, I would have been at the Jammeh Commission. Straight. So it's not about him doing anything wrong. No, no. It is the structure, and this has been happening in different scenarios. That's the truth. The civil service has a problem. What we see, creation of institutions, there's an institution that monitors delivery. What delivery are they monitoring? Is this not delivery? What delivery are they monitoring? You see, the creation of all these institutions is just a waste of resources. The government can run without all these institutions. The only thing one needs to do is to follow the codes of conduct and follow the constitution. That's it. So for me, from here, I would advise him again that it's a learning curve. Let him be withdrawing and then watch and listen to the people. In fact, however difficult it is, a leader should do that. Even if you are so angry with Ibrahim Abalde or Esa Bokarsi, sometimes leadership obliges you to say, okay, this person is a constant critic, but today I'm going to force myself to listen to him. It can help you. Look, Ibrahim, if it wasn't because of we want to be healthy, do you think some people who still drink attaya, but they still don't want to have diabetes, will drink attaya without sugar?
No.
I've seen people do that in the Gambia. They still drink attaya without sugar. If it wasn't because, and attaya without sugar is medicine. Isn't it?
That's true.
If people, if you really, it is about what pleases you or what is painful, do you think people would have taken injections?
No.
Exactly. So that's my advice to him. I am not going to sit here and blame him. The only thing I will see as something that he should step up and do is not for me to get a job, not for you. Some of them, they will sit there and say, I don't want that. Some people have jobs that they cannot pay them the salary over there. They cannot. The issue is about the nation. There are people, President Barrow, I am telling him this as out of a good heart as a brother. There are people within this government, if he doesn't revamp the government, he doesn't shake them up, he doesn't send them home, he will continue going through these processes, these leakages and these shocks. There are things he may not come and say on the television, but I know he's not happy about it, the way the outcome. Look, all the people around President Barrow today, whoever is claiming to love him, only one person, Ibrahim, only one person loves President Barrow more than President Barrow loves you. I'm not talking about Allah, a person. It is Yajuma, his mother. That woman, nobody can compete her when it comes to loving President Barrow. You cannot. If you compete her, then you are a hypocrite. But other than that, let him also learn from this and say, look, that like in Fula, mi horaki achu help economy wa achu yayam. There should be days that leaders, you have to withdraw yourself. The only person you will listen to is your mother. And then you think through these things and see, why is this happening? You see, winning elections, sitting there, going and winning and sitting there, when actually these things are shocks, whether one knows it or not, it affects your health. It affects human beings because these are shocks that come into your system. It will affect you, whether you like it or not. It's not healthy. Let him revamp some of these people in the government. Let him act like a bull in a china shop and deal with some of these people, because the moment you start doing that, it's not about, you see, the concentration on critics and opposition will make a government fail, because the failure of a government is always internal. Some people will say, okay, the leakage happened because the intention of the person maybe is to support UDP, when actually you are not right. When it's not true. My final proverb is this. So padagol takno hunde warata haidara, Nendiam fasnata liu. The proverb in Fula is, if being close to something was the only reason why there will be no destruction, then water would have never boiled fish. Kono kondiam fasnata lingu gor. Kodon potan mi hande. So Allah jabi.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Savogarsi, for that witty statement, and that also draw the curtain for this edition of Gambia Now on Emerging Gambian Issues. Join us another time again for another edition. Thank you so much. Okay. Vale, thank you.
Have you stopped recording?
Yes. Let me stop.